Hello and a warm welcome to this interview. I'm Dr. King Boison. I would do a proper introduction later, but I'm excited to have some, let me say, very great personalities that, to tell you the truth, it will take time to be able to interact with these great personalities. And I'm excited to have this section with them. So on the Zoom, we have His Royal Majesty Rex Semako, the first and the fourth, Timothy McPherson, who is the chairman of the ECOSYS and president of the African Diaspora Central Bank. And also just got to know that he is the deputy governor of the Central Bank of Africa. Sir, you are warmly welcome to this program.
Thank you, Dr. Boise. It's always a pleasure to interact and engage with you.
All right. And also on the call is one great personality who is the Vanuatu Trade Commissioner to Ghana. He is Ambassador Professor Hugh Aryee, who works with the ECOSYS as a trading partner for the implementation for the Lumi currency, right now, not across Africa, but across Africa, Europe, and wherever we'll get to. A very brilliant young man. Prof, you are welcome to this program.
Thank you, Dr. Boison. My pleasure.
So a quick one. The ECOSYS, I hear, was birthed somewhere in 1st August 2019 through their confirmation. This thought has been around for ages, but officially they were birthed in 1st August 2019 through what they call the Abuja Court. And Chairman, His Royal Majesty, you've been the first chairman for the ECOSYS and being part of this process. Just want you to share some few thoughts with us as to how far you have come from then, 1st August 2019, up to now, what has been happening within the space. I know we're going to go to the specific, but how far we have come and what has been the progress. So you have your time, maybe in the next 3 minutes, to elaborate on this point for us.
Thank you very kindly, Dr. Boise. And I'm sure that as we interact, we'll come back to the topic on a regular basis, but perhaps allow me to make one corrective statement just pertaining to the beginning and its origin of sixth region as a formal concept and block. The notion of the sixth region is nothing new. It actually had its origins with the late, great Marcus Mosiah Garvey and his call for the United States of Africa. And indeed, when the African Union was created, the very spirit of the African Union was based upon a continuation of the vision for a United States of Africa. So both the African Union, the 1991 Abuja Treaty, and the Organization of African Unity all have this framework of continuing a vision that was articulated by Marcus Garvey. And of course, in creating ECOSYS as a regional bloc, we bring legal structures and frameworks to the manifestation of that vision within the diaspora itself. And of course, as Africa's newest regional bloc, we've had great successes thus far in establishing our regional presence. We've been formally established within ECOWAS, where we have our dynamic office located within Ghana and directly in conjunction with the Vanuatu Trade Commission, where we share a joint diplomatic facility for our ECOWAS representation. Within the SADC region, we have our dynamic presence within the Kingdom of Eswatini, where His Majesty King Mswati has welcomed the diaspora family back into Africa's absolute last monarchy in recognition of the fact that when we were taken from the continent, we were taken from kingdoms. And so, of course, it is most appropriate that as part of our return, we do return back to kingdoms in honoring our ancestral frameworks. And then, of course, within Central Africa, we've been welcomed by Congo Brazzaville, where we've began to establish regional offices in Point Noir, which is the economic city and center for Congo Brazzaville. And we will be looking to establish regional blockings both within the East African community as well as in Northern Africa going forward. So that's just a small snippet with regards to the current geopolitical presence of ECO6 on the continent, as well as its place of origin within the diaspora. And I think it is worth noting that when we speak of origin in the diaspora, given that Marcus Garvey was the mantra of the past, the headquarters for ECO6 is domiciled within the Maroon territories on the island of Jamaica. So we bring a great historical legacy into this 21st century of economic transformation and development.
Wow. So the Abuja Treaty was just part of the process that led to the final, do I put it, inauguration, or that led to the birthing of what? The ECOSIS. But the idea has been around, for ages, and I quite agree with you on that. So, Professor Ambassador Hugh Aryee, you are the ambassador to Ghana, or the commissioner to Ghana from Vanuatu. Let's know, what is Vanuatu and how did you partner with ECOSIS on this project? Because we seem to be seeing a lot of things that you're doing with the ECOSIS, and some of us have read online, have seen some partnerships that have been created on behalf of ECOSIS, and we are told that you are the trading partner with ECOSIS and also a member of the ECOSIS. I want you to throw more light on this. What is Vanuatu, and how come Vanuatu have come to this level working with ECOSIS?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Boison. My pleasure to meet you once again. So Vanuatu is a republic which is in the South Pacific, having about 83 islands, 18 of them presently occupied, a population of 319,000 people. So Vanuatu prides itself as being, or have won the World Index of the most happiest place on earth for the 4th consecutive time. I was appointed as a trade commissioner. I work under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, International Cooperation, and External Trade, promoting trade, economic, and bilateral activity between the Melanesian country and the Republic of Ghana, with advancement to West Africa and Africa. And Vanuatu, even though we are not so much in terms of population, we pride ourselves in so many things. Could you imagine that the ginseng drink you drink in Ghana is from Vanuatu? Most of the tuna places, the ginseng.
The ginseng from Vanuatu.
Yes, that ginseng is actually exported to China. It is repackaged and shipped across the globe. Some of them ended in Ghana. You consume it as if it's from China, but it's from Vanuatu. Pioneer Free Canning get their tuna from the Republic of Vanuatu. And in Vanuatu, we don't sell fish. everybody can get fish. We found ourselves in the middle of the sea. We are part of the Melanesia countries, Papua New Guinea, New Caledonia, Solomon Islands, Vanuatu, and I think there's about 5 countries. So we call ourselves the Melanesian countries. And because we found ourselves in the middle of the sea, we don't share border with any other country. And so for this reason, the government had thought it wise to reach out to the diaspora. Reaching out to the diaspora means that we want to open a business opportunity between the Pacific, the Ghana, West Africa, and Africa. And so last year we had the opportunity to have an agreement with the African Diaspora Central Bank in the promotion of business activities, trading, and in effect, the Lumi.
Okay, so your partnership with EcoSys, how did that happen? Vanuatu Trade Commissioner.
Yeah, so we had an agreement with ADCB last year. And
ADCB stands for African Diaspora Central Bank. Okay, yes.
Central Bank, which already His Royal Majesty has spoken about.
Yeah.
So we had an agreement, trading agreement, and Vanuatu, being a republic in itself, is also part of the ecosystem. In Vanuatu, the history of Vanuatu indicates that a lot of them were, or most of them are blacks. And when they had independence in 1980 from the British and then the French rule, it is just imperative to ensure that there is that connection between the South Pacific and Africa, which had the Holocaust of the slave trade, during what we call the transatlantic slave trade.
Okay, that's very good information. And Your Royal Majesty, one instructive statement you made when in your visit to Togo, and I want us to begin from that statement in trying to explain to the audience about the Lumi currency. And you did indicate that we have come to rebuild our father's home. We have come, and then we means the diaspora have come to rebuild our father's home. So all this concept about the Lumi implementation and trying to bring those of the African youth and adults who are outside the financial inclusive net to the financial inclusion ecosystem, using the Lumi as a tool for economic emancipation. What is all about this Lumi currency, and how far have we been able to make progress with its implementation?
Thank you very kindly, Dr. Boise. First of all, let me just make a small comment on these statements made by Dr. Ambassador Aryee. You know, when it comes to Vanuatu, we often hear the statements about Polynesian and Melanesian people. But the fact of the matter is, when the ambassador had invited me to Vanuatu, and I was looking around, I said, well, these are the same African people that we have in the Caribbean, that we have in Central South America, and indeed that we have across the entire continent. And so as a consequence of that legacy of that thing called slavery, we recognize that the so-called Melanesian and Polynesian people are simply Africans of the diaspora. And so the diaspora collectively comes back to our ancestral lands, to our fatherlands. And we recognize that there are challenges in the home of our ancestral land. And I think that any child entering the house of his father or his grandfather that sees difficulties in the home, it is upon them to make whatever changes they can. If you see a hole in the roof, you're going to patch the roof. If you see the door is unhinged, you're going to try and put the door back on the hinges. And so in this 21st century, we recognize that the biggest challenge facing the continent is its economic sovereignty. And so the diaspora comes with a robust dynamic currency in the Lumi, underwritten by 100 kilowatt hours of solar energy and pegged to 4 grains of gold, so that we have a strong intrinsic value driven monetary instrument that is capable of doing what? Repairing our fatherland's home. And so we look across the north, south, east, west, and central dynamics of the continent, and we make a non-apologetic commitment to investing in the development of our ancestral culture, identity, and all the economic requirements that are necessary for Africa to have a meaningful economic presence in this 21st century that is not simply geared around the exportation of raw materials to Western economies, but rather focused upon an industrialization process that brings jobs to our youth, an industrialization process that can bring electricity to the more than 650 million people across the continent today that currently have no access to electricity, and an industrialization process that positions Africa to take a leadership role on the global stage in these modern times.
Wow. Wow. So the Lumi is underwritten by solar energy and then also gold. That's very powerful. So, Professor Ambassador, how far have we gone with the implementation of the Lumi since you, as a trading partner to the ECOSYS, have been part and actually spearheaded its implementation in Africa and now probably in Europe as well as we speak? You just moved from Luxembourg to Frankfurt. So if you can give us highlights of how far we have come, then I'll come back to His Royal Majesty to ask some specific questions regarding interactions with countries and which countries are coming on board and those who are also being engaged as we speak. So, Prof.
Thank you so much.
I can hear you. Yes.
Okay, so regarding the implementation of the Lumi currency, our intention is to empower Africans economically for financial inclusion using Lumi. And for that reason, we have signed some strategic agreements with various organizations, kingdoms, and as well as several countries that are in the pipeline with the Lumi implementation. At the moment, I could say that we have advanced funds to WSA, that is Water Sanitation in Africa, and some provinces and kingdoms in South Africa, Georgia International Airlines in Uganda, Entebbe Province in Uganda, and the list continues in that manner. And also, as part of our strategy, I am here in Europe. I was in Luxembourg 2 days ago to strike a strategic partnership agreement with a financial institution. 2 days after I arrived here in Frankfurt, today we have had a series of meetings with some firms in Europe that are eager to assist Africa and make use of the Lumi currency. So I think so far, so good. We are doing well and we are on course.
All right. So, Your Royal Majesty, you have been engaging countries, I mean, at the top level, because the ECOSYS is a regional bloc, and as much as possible, your interactions with governments and also even on the continental, level. Just want to know, has there been any positive outlooks in your engagement? I remember we saw you in Kenya You came to Nigeria briefly and then moved to SA. How has been the engagement so far?
Thank you very kindly. With regards to the engagement, we've traveled extensively across the continent, but I wouldn't want to define the engagement by virtue of national engagements. The truth of the matter is, as a regional bloc, our focal point is the development of the regional economic communities across the continent, of which the nation states are obviously members of each regional bloc. So the process becomes about sensitizing the nations to the presence of ECO6 as the newest member within the family of African regional economic communities, while at the same time also encouraging those nations to make greater contributions to their own regional blockings as we begin to trade and interact with them. For example, if you look at a region like ECOWAS, we come to recognize that given the objectives of both the Abuja Treaty and now the African Continental Free Trade Area, ECOWAS is quite immature in its integrational processes, considering that Abuja was signed in 1991. One would suppose that the entire region is fully integrated and functional, but that's simply not the case. And so our agitation is to make the regions become more functional, and consequently the discussion isn't about any one country, but about all the countries within the region taking up trade and exchanging best practices in economy, in culture, and in knowledge transfer right across the board, so that ECOWAS, SADC, and all the regions of the continent can create the fulfillment of that United States of Africa on the one hand, or the African Continental Free Trade Area on the other hand, or any other dynamic that speaks to a meaningful interaction of African peoples and nations en masse. So while we've had dynamic engagements in Ghana, dynamic engagements in countries like Sierra Leone, Kenya, South Africa, as you've correctly mentioned, the focal point is always strengthening those countries and making investment commitments towards those countries with a view towards strengthening the region as well.
All right, thank you so much. So I have a copy of the Lumi here, and I'm proud to say that His Royal Majesty has his signature on it. I'm going to ask this obvious question. Is this money? Royal Majesty, is this money?
Well, you know, as an old school banker, we always defined money not only as a medium of exchange, but also as a unit of account and a store of value, which means that something needs to be backing it. So when you ask the question, is this money? I would hazard to say that on the global stage today, there's only two types of currencies that can call themselves money. First and foremost, it's the Lumi, because it's the first one to return to the gold standard, being backed by gold and 100 kilowatt hours of solar energy. And of course, the second one is the Zimbabwe gold coin that they've also introduced, the ZiG. And so when we talk about money, we talk about African style money backed by gold, or in our ancestral definition, it could be backed by cows, another commodity, but always backed by commodity. And so Lumi is as much money as money can be.
So I'll come back to your Royal Majesty. So Professor Ambassador Hugh Aryee, so you have been at the forefront of implementing, engaging countries about the sensitizing, that's the word, because the implementation has started already, and over $6 trillion equivalent in Lumi, I'm told, has been traded on the our fintech platforms. I want to just find out from your experience, from the time you took up to now, what has been happening within the space in terms of accepting, the Lumi as a regional currency?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Boison. At the moment, as you might be aware, we have a fintech, a financial fintech company called HoneyPay that's been fully licensed by the African Diaspora Central Bank to assist in the circulation of the AKL Lumi coin. This process has begun, and I can tell you we have thousands of people that are on the HoneyPay platform. And one of the projections we have made so far is to assist businesses in Africa to access AKL Lumi using the protocols that have been enshrined by ADCB for businesses such as small-scale businesses, medium-scale businesses, and large-scale businesses. This program will take off effectively from Ghana, where we expect to fund about 100,000 businesses in areas of fintech, sustainable agriculture, renewable energy resources, and the rest. So that program will kick off in July. And apart from that, we are also doing the AI Africa project. This project aims to train about 5 million Africans in artificial intelligence technology. You will agree with me that Africa had missed out on the first, the second, and the third industrial revolution. Our generation, which ends in 2024, is the Alpha generation. We have several generations that have passed: Millennium generation, G generation, and the rest. But as the world enters the new generation, which starts from 2025, it is called the Meta generation up to 2039. This Meta generation is where you hear metaverse, cryptocurrency, blockchain technology, and artificial intelligence technology. As the Vanuatu Trade Commissioner and the Trade Commission, we thought that we should use this opportunity to embrace this change that is coming, and so Africa can be part of the fourth industrial revolution. And so in pursuit of that, we have decided to train 5 million Africans in artificial intelligence. Already this program has started, and it has gone beyond the borders of Ghana. We have trained people from Ghana, we have trained people from Eswatini, we have trained people from Liberia, we have trained people from Vanuatu, and the list continues. And so these are part of the visions that we have. Then apart from this, we also came out with a comprehensive concept for technical universities in Ghana. This project will be unveiled in August, where we expect all the 11 technical universities in Ghana, and then 137 thereabout universities in Ghana, 139 universities in Ghana, to have the benefit of gaining insight into this viable project, which will be unveiled in August. This will be replicated across Africa. And this project will be funded by African Diaspora Central Bank and then Vanuatu Trade Commission. We will supervise it, we ensure that it is completed. And we are not only in Ghana, we are going to replicate this across Africa. Of course, we need to start from somewhere, and because the Vanuatu Trade Commission is situated in Ghana, we are starting from our base, which is Ghana. So I can say that in a nutshell, we have made progress and we continue to make progress. We are also traveling to Zambia. We are signing an agreement with Zambia, Zimbabwe, Tanzania, South Africa. Several universities are coming on board for this AI project. I think with what we have started, only the sky can be our footstool.
Okay, I decided to share the screen when you were just talking about the AI. I was going to come back to that, but it's good that we've spoken about it. Now, so yesterday there was a face-to-face training for the trainers who are going to execute this agenda. And Your Royal Majesty was the one who gave a keynote speech when this program was launched on 30th of April. Your Royal Majesty, just want you to see the number of since 30th April up to now, the number of trainers who are executing the agenda. We started this project with just no trainer, but a project consultant, my good self. And I just want you to experience this, what I'm going to show to you. And I'll pick your thoughts from that. From that very day you came to Ghana and we had the interaction, and up to now, what is happening in that space. Your Royal Majesty just went off. Yeah. Oh, it's on. Oh, yeah. Okay, good. So I hope you can hear the sound.
Ladies and gentlemen, so I have a very important guest I want to introduce you to. The AI Africa project is on the blaze, and I want to introduce you to some group of people who are going to lead the charge of the AI African stimulus project in the entire Africa and even in Europe. So ladies and gentlemen, meet the blazing group.
So, Your Royal Majesty, I want your initial comments on that so that I can ask you a follow-up question.
Beautiful, magical, wonderful to see. You know, I'm actually overwhelmed with joy in seeing our people take control of their own future economic destiny. And we've insisted that obviously, if the world is going to go in the direction of AI, then the African family must define its own utility of AI. And so when I see all this energy, all these people, not only partaking in the training, but becoming trainers of trainers, I'm moved to the very soul. Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that.
All right. So, Your Royal Majesty,
ladies and gentlemen,
this project, of course, led by the Vanuatu Trade Commissioner, has chalked some sort of successes. And very soon we're going to have some form of documentary so that Professor will tell us what has happened so far. But more significantly, I would want to ask Professor a basic question, and I'm going to ask His Royal Majesty also the same. Prof, if you have Lumi, if you have fiat today, and you have heard about the Lumi, knowing what you know, what would you advise investors? What would you advise business owners? What would you advise SMEs? With the level of integration you're having in Europe, in some part, and some part of Africa, what would be your advice?
Yeah, Dr. Boison, can you see me? Looks like your video
I can see you. I can see you.
Me? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I think it's frozen somewhere somehow, but it's okay. So
Okay.
Thank you so much for that question. I would say that if I were you, I'm interested in Lumi, because as you're so much aware, Lumi is pegged at 15.96 to the dollar, which is our primary market rate. And the secondary market is pegged at 4 grams of gold. Today, the price of gold is about $19.
$19
What it means is that $19 today. What it means is that when Bitcoin came, you know, you cannot compare Bitcoin with what? The classic Lumi. People were very skeptical. They were very pessimistic about it. And today, Bitcoin is about hovering around $65,000 to $75,000. But what I can assure you is that just like we had the petrodollar with the United Arab Emirates, 1953, also the United Arab dinar also was pegged to about $3.7 dollars at that time. And since then, it has never changed. What this tells you is that as a businessman, you are able to budget for the next 10 years, knowing very well that you are not going to experience fluctuating, inflation, just name the list, all those various economic jargons we have been using. But with Lumi, you are sure that the next 1 year, the next 5 years, the next 10 years, there's not going to be any depreciation in value of Lumi. So I would rather like to invest in Lumi than any other currency. What Lumi aims to achieve is that we want to have economic viability as well as stability for Africa and for Africans. So I would advise anyone who already has Lumi, yes, as 2022, His Royal Majesty said, with the over $1.6 trillion dollars of Lumi, equivalent to Lumi had been circulated in the continental African market, which is almost 50% of the continental GDP, which stood at about $2.6 trillion at the time. And this year, 2024 and 2025, we are expecting that with the use of Lumi up to the year 2030, Africa will have been able to see an increase of about 10 trillion worth of transactions as peak GDP level. So for me, going forward, in the next couple of days, we are going to have that mechanism where people who have Lumi will be able to have exchanges done across the globe in about 193 countries. So just get ready as Lumi emerges strongly in the financial market.
All right, Your Royal Majesty, on the screen is the Lumi AI commemorative coin, which was cleverly a concept that was cleverly put together. And I would want you to speak to this, but prior to this, as the ECOSYS chairman and the president of the African Diaspora Central Bank, and also the deputy governor for the Central Bank of Africa, what do you really do? Because I wonder if you really have time. What are your functions? What do you really do? Before we speak about the Lumi AI commemorative coin, I just want people to have a sense of who you are.
You know, the key dynamic of any type of authentic leadership is defined through service. And as a matter of service, it's about looking at the needs of a people, looking at the needs of your constituency, and seeing what you can do to contribute to the provision of whatever those needs are. And so from the chair of ECO6, it's not only about, traveling around and having high-level discussions on multilateral engagements, but it's also looking at the very real needs on the ground, recognizing, for example, as we sit here having the conversations that we're having, there's real riots going on in Kenya where people are demanding change. There's real conflict going on in Congo where people are trying to recapture their resources, which are being pillaged by members of the international community. And so there's a constant needs assessment on the one hand that's going on, which isn't a theoretical needs assessment, but really looking at what's happening on the ground and coming up with solutions that are achievable to alleviate the hardship that our people are suffering, if they're suffering hardships, as well as advance the standards of living for our people collectively. And so both from the chair of ECO6 and the lens of the African Diaspora Central Bank, every discussion, every hour of the day is committed to assessment, analysis, and strategic integrations of solutions that can transform our collective African family on the continent and on the global stage.
Wow. So, Lumi commemorative AI coin, what is it all about? We saw a release from the African Diaspora Central Bank that on the 1st of June, the Lumi commemorative coin was going to replace something. I just wanted you to give us a sense of what it is. I know your signature is on this letter, but once you are here, the thought that went into this and the 14 days requirement or the ultimatum that was given to the fintech platforms to update their system.
Well, the fact of the matter is, and I'll just make a short commentary with regards to the background of the coin. The capital markets today are very sophisticated. There are a multitude of financial instruments on the international stage. Within the central banking community, they're still having a very old conversation on central bank digital currencies. Truth of the matter is, African Diaspora Central Bank has made more headway in central bank digital currencies than almost any other player on the block. And so we look at all of the discussions ranging from central bank digital currencies to cryptocurrencies, which are backed by fiat instruments, and to other cryptocurrencies, which are backed by commodity. And we recognize that as financial instruments become more diversified, the Lumi must also be able to speak to that diversification. And so the AI commemorative coin, from the level of intelligence, is able to differentiate between acquisitions which are done with fiat currencies in terms of dollar or euro or any fiat instrument, acquisitions which are done with cryptocurrencies that are still pegged by fiat, and then acquisitions which are done by those cryptocurrencies which have commodity in the background, such as gold or silver or energy. And consequently, as a smart coin, it interacts intelligently with the market. So that if you're coming with gold, we have gold for you. If we're coming with fiat, we're going to give you a bit of climate action and back your fiat with some substantive commodity. So on the one hand, it brings intelligence to money market, situating the African family not only as a player in financial markets, but actually at the cutting edge of modern innovation within those financial markets. And then on the other hand, because it's a commemorative coin, one must ask the question, as I intuned earlier, of what is it commemorating? And of course, we see an image of His Majesty King of Mswati on one side, and we see an image of the late, great Marcus Mosiah Garvey on the other side. And so from a commemorative perspective, it commemorates the greatness of African kingdoms, and it commemorates the greatness of the movement of African economic independence and the transformative dialogue on that very topic as began by Marcus Mosiah Garvey. And so our smart coin speaks to the past, it speaks to the present, and it certainly speaks to the future in terms of financial market and the transformation of the global African family.
All right, so Prof, this directive that was given, 14 days, how far are we with the fintech platforms? I think we have 2 fintech platforms. How far have we gone with this implementation? And when are we expecting the exchange?
Thank you so much. Yes, I think what we had to be notification, we quickly sprang into action. Our fintech team, our engineers and developers, both front end and back end, are working 24/7 to ensure that we meet with the requirements from the ADCB. I've been reliably informed that within the next couple of days, all these systems will have been applied. The integration will have been completed for us to go fully live. And so these are the efforts we are making. It's a fact that we have not been able to meet the 14 days, but as you expect, technology is not something very easy. You just go and pick and drop it here. It comes with a lot of knowledge, skills, and it comes with a whole lot of systems deployment, production, and the rest. And so we have requested for some few days more, but we are hopeful that before the end of the month of June, we'll have gone live with 193 countries so far that will be on board.
So we're going to have exchange as soon as possible. Now, let me ask from the regulatory point of view, Your Royal Majesty, how are you regulating the distribution of the Lumi on these platforms? Are there some protocols to observe? I realized that, or I saw in your communication on the commemorative point that up to a certain limit, you will require an approval before you can exchange the Lumi with any of the fiat, I think 255 or so. From a regulatory point of view, can you share your thoughts how the African Diaspora Central Bank is putting in measures to avoid money laundering and other moving huge sums without approvals?
Well, as it pertains first and foremost to the topic of money laundering, we've succeeded in our initial test case, keeping in mind that Lumi has come onto the market as new money. And we haven't allowed conversion in the past. Now, the consequence of not allowing conversion is it means that we haven't gotten our money dirty with anyone else's money, so to speak, if we want to use the word dirty. And by dirty, it doesn't matter what currency we're talking about. We simply say that we haven't mingled it with any other currency. And so consequently, as we now take the steps towards convertibility and mingling, there's a lot of stringent measures that are being put in place within the background. That is why, indeed, I understand that HannyPay has requested an extension of time in terms of being able to have their platform accommodating that convertibility, as we are very cognizant of the fact that fiat currencies will flood the Lumi platform in an effort to clean themselves and get into new money. From a banking perspective, we always talk about bad money chasing good money. And so as our good money begins to circulate within international circles, we know the bad money will come, and actually it's inevitable. And by bad money, again, you made reference to money laundering and those topics. From a banking perspective, we don't necessarily define bad money through that lens. For us, bad money is simply money that lacks intrinsic value and isn't able to keep its value over a period of time. And so because the Lumi has its intrinsic value, we don't want to dilute that value with weaker currencies that would contribute to the dilution of our monetary instrument. And so we put limitations in place of convertibility so that those weaker currencies don't immediately depreciate the value of our intrinsically fundamental and superiorly stronger currency.
All right. Thank you so much. So we'll be getting to our concluding part. And I would like to ask, so Your Royal Majesty, is there any hope for businesses, for SMEs, in accessing these funds? And if so, how should they, what are the requirements and how should they position themselves in order to assess the funding?
Thank you very kindly. One of the most important things to keep in mind is that the diaspora comes to the continent, to the ancestral lands, with a lens towards empowering our fledgling businesses. Now, we understand that it has been very difficult for businesses on the continent to raise money, not only internationally, but within their own domestic markets. As a matter of fact, it's the case that African economies are always confronted with a low credit rating, and that most of the businesses, because they lack a certain standard of credit integrity on the international stage, they become non-fundable. But at the end of the day, if we don't support our businesses, how do we expect to transform our economy? And so in this thing called the fourth industrial revolution, and in this reset, we take a complete reset in our outlook towards African businesses. Our position is, let us invest in the businesses. Let them have an opportunity to prove themselves. And in the same way that the West has a credit rating based upon performance, we could then assess the credibility of these institutions based upon their performance rather than based upon conventional negative sentiments that have plagued the entire continent. And it's for that reason that we have made funds available for new startup companies, for currently active SME companies throughout the entire continent, and obviously for large cap institutions. And in terms of looking at not only credit ratings, but the availability of those fundings, we've already demonstrated through our first economic stimulus, where we made available a parity value of some $10,000 to SMEs to prove themselves. We will continue in that trajectory to make capital available for small and medium enterprises to establish themselves and to have them begin trading in Lumi, or transacting rather in Lumi, with their local constituency.
So Prof, just want to ask.
Yeah, Dr. Boison.
Yes.
It looks like His Royal Majesty battery just would run off, and
oh, okay.
He's left off the platform.
No, he's still on. He's still on. It's just that
so let's continue with the engagement here.
Yes. So let me ask, Prof. When the Ghana, the launch was done in Ghana in on the 30th of April, I remember you did indicate that some allocations have been made for Ghana, for especially those who will be trained in the AI program. That for Ghana, we have 300,000 Ghanaians that will be trained, and after training, 100,000 of these Ghanaians are going to receive some funding, which is not flexible loan, but collateral-free and also interest-free loan for them to start up their businesses. I just want you to throw more light on that, and also as an extension to what His Royal Majesty said, in the funding for the corporations, and then also in some cases like Water Sanitation Africa, which is an association of all countries, about 47, maybe active 35 countries. I just want you to throw more light in this respect, so we understand within the context of your trade facilitation, what you're doing within that ecosystem.
Thank you so much. The ecosystem we are creating so far works within 3 categories. One being a small-scale industry or startup that benefit from about $10,000 worth of Lumi.
Prof, can you project a little? Can you project a little? The sound is a little bit low. Yeah.
So I mentioned
it's better now. Yeah.
So I mentioned that we have categorized the various components of the funding to businesses. For Ghana, we have earmarked 100,000 businesses to receive funding, and I said earlier, this project project will begin in July. And the second one will be for medium-scale enterprises that will benefit from around $62,000 worth of Lumi, and then large-scale corporations, which will move from $62,000 into the millions. But there are some caveats to all of this. One, some of them you must ensure that you fall in line with the various spaces that we want to have funding taking place. One will be for fintech, one will be for sustainable agri, and then one will be for renewable energy. Now, HoneyPay is having a platform that will work like the way Amazon and Alibaba work, where we expect to see all businesses that will want to access this funding provide their services, product and services, pictures, and everything on Honey Market. It's called Honey Market. And so we are creating that platform or ecosystem for all Lumi users to be able to advertise their products and then services there for free. This is already up, and which you can always find on honeypay.co. So these are the various components we have put together, which of course will be unveiled in the next coming weeks.
Wow. So how do you see the future? The future of Lumi. In some few words, I know it's promising. In some few words, how would you see the future? Now, I want you to look at it from this perspective. The future of those trainers who, to be very fair, will become certified trainers, either silver, gold, platinum, or gold or platinum. And according to the certification which I'm leading, platinum trainers are going to be consultants for Vanuatu Trade Commissioner and African Diaspora Central Bank. Gold trainers are going to be project managers for all technology projects, and the silver are going to be project leaders. Now we are looking at training about 100,000 of these folks across Africa. And that is a very huge step towards capturing or leading the fourth industrial revolution. So I asked a question yesterday, most of them were very excited. What is the future? What is the hope for these folks? They are excited, their hopes are high, but you are leading this project. So just tell them in some few seconds what the future holds for them, and also tell these businesses that are within the African ecosystem what the future holds for them. Also tell the universities and also other private institutions what the future holds for them.
So the future is so bright and promising for businesses across Africa to be able to run competitions with their peers from other global giants. And I can tell you that for the AI training program, we have received quite a couple of messages and emails, proposals from several universities across Africa that want people to be trained in AI. You are not only going to be trained in AI, you are going to be paid when we train you. You know, we have agreement with Knowledge Web Center that train our trainer of trainers, and every trainer receive $400 worth of Lumi when he's trained 200 people. Every trainee get $100 worth of Lumi, aka Lumi, after successful completion of that course. Then we come down to the universities. We have set up an ambitious agenda, which is, you can see, this project is going to be launched somewhere in August. It's Empowering Ghana's Future, a comprehensive initiative for technical universities. What we aim to achieve is to give all these technical universities funding. We are funding them, and we are giving each university a project to undertake. And this project, we will fund it, we'll make sure we supervise it, and we'll make sure we bring it to fruition. So we are no longer living in dreams. we are now in reality. What else I can assure you is that with Lumi coming into our space, there's going to be that financial dependency where businesses will be able to do business across Africa with HPS. A lot of people will be able to use the AI to generate business ideas. They will use the AI to find common basic problems within our own environment. And once you are able to do that, you get funded by Lumi. Fortunately for us, we have ADCB that is in full support of this agenda. And we also want to just throw this challenge to every Ghanaian, every African that's listening to my voice to know that there's something new coming. There's hope for Africa, and we are part of the new world order that will begin 2025. That transformational agenda to see Africa emancipate itself, develop infrastructure like elsewhere in Europe is beginning with Lumi.
Wow. So if I'm a businessman or I'm an individual and I want Lumi, what do I do? If I want this currency Lumi, I want to store the Lumi, what do I do?
So that project starts from 1st of August when HoneyPay goes live. What we want you to do is our website is HoneyPay, H-A-N-Y. You may project that on the screen, honeypay.co. You go there and register your business. You begin listing your product and services, and they must be listed in what? In AKL Lumi. Checkouts must be in AKL Lumi. Once you list your product and services on HoneyPay, you now get opportunity to write to us for funding, which of course will be able to what? Yes, that's honeypay.co, not .com, honeypay.co, honeypay.co. That's the platform for the disbursement of funds across all our platforms in our ecosystem. So you must list your products and services on Honey Market, which you will find on HoneyPay website. All your products are listed, and then you can send your application for the loan funding.
All right. So I just want to, this is it, honeypay.co. As you can see, just want you to not to miss this. All right, honeypay.co. Prof, I think this is right. So that is it.
.com.
.co.
Yeah.
So that's what we have. And you can easily go here and then register so that you'll be given your wallet, Lumi wallet ID, the same thing for whatever country you are signing in from. You're going to get three, as you call it, three currencies. Yes.
Let me explain that. So
go
the
ahead.
HoneyPay platform have three currencies. The HoneyPay platform has three currencies. When you register, you see the first one, which is AKL. The AKL is the Lumi. Now, the middle one is US dollar, which is, which is used as the base. And then the third one will be the country you are registering from. Assuming you are registering from Nigeria, you will have seen AKL, USD, and then Naira. Assuming you are registering from India, you will have seen AKL, USD, and then Indian rupee. Assuming you are registering from UK, you see AKL, USD, and then the Great Britain's pounds. Assuming you are registering from South Africa, you see AKL, USD, and the South African rand. So all these systems by the end of this month will be fully functional for you to be able to have access. Now we want every member to do business with Africans. Make sure that you support an African company to grow. It's the only way we can help Africa develop.
All right. I also know that you've signed some strategic MOU with some companies, travel and tours, which they are receiving their funds in Lumi, and many of some of these companies are coming up. And I know, as a matter of fact, that you even moving to Luxembourg was based on these companies started issuing tickets. And I think that is a giant move, and that is a good strategic move from this company. I've forgotten their name, if you can share. What?
I want to congratulate Top Hills Travel and Tours.
Stopped what?
Their Top Hills.
Top Hills, okay.
Travel and Tours for their vision and seeing ahead what others are not seeing and coming on board as official travel and tour company for the Vanuatu Trade Commissioner. An agreement was signed a few weeks ago, and they are playing very phenomenal roles in whatever we do. They will be the anchor for all our travels across Africa. Remember that we are sending our trainers across Africa to go and train. They will be providing all the necessary travel and tour management for this. So I want to congratulate anyone who is interested can look for Top Hills Travel and Tour in Accra, who are our official travel and tour company for the Vanuatu Trade Commission.
All right.
And also let me add that Georgia International Airlines in Uganda, they are into cargo. They've also signed agreement exclusively, and they are making use of Lumi, as well as several provinces in South Africa who are also accepting Lumi. And so the fire is just raging, and very soon to capture the entire African continent, and Lumi will be.
Yeah. So, Prof, these are the list of institutions that I know, as a matter of fact, have received funding from you, and that's quite impressive. Just wanted to share because we are talking about them, and all these funds have been sent through the HoneyPay. It's just amazing. It's just amazing. I know I've not been able to capture all, but this is very, very impressive, and it tells us that there's a brighter future, I mean, going ahead. So, Prof, I want to thank you and His Royal Majesty for having taken some time off your busy schedules to join me on this interview, just to create this awareness and make people know that we are actually living in reality. We are not living in belief. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day. Lumi is our pride. Lumi is our future. Lumi is what is going to emancipate us from the shackles of what? Slavery. Thank you so much, Prof, and have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you so much, Dr. Boison. I wish you the same too.
Yeah.